FVR is like vegetables. Students know it's good for them, but most of them don't really like the taste. But maybe we just haven't prepared it the right way for them. So let me share with you a baker's dozen ways to prepare FVR that can both help students realize the benefits of it and maybe figure out that it doesn't taste quite that bad. Number one, just like baby food, you shouldn't start FVR too early. Now, general recommendations are that if students are going to read a book during free voluntary reading time, that they should know at least 90% of the vocabulary in that piece of reading. 98 is even better, but 90% at a minimum. So for most students, finding a piece of reading at that level isn't viable at the beginning of like a first level class, right? You're going to be looking at maybe second semester, even second year of French or Spanish or Italian or whatever language you teach. So let's not start too early. Let's make sure that they have a good solid background, because the last thing we want to do is get them to hate reading more than they might already. Because as you and I both know, students come in without much love for the idea of reading. Now, number two is book tasting. Book tasting is a quick go-around where students get to take a look at a small number of books, 5, 10, 15, where they can quickly just get a bite-sized taste of those to see if it might be a good fit for them. I often have students look at the book's cover, back cover synopsis, some illustrations, take a short bit of time to read maybe a paragraph or so to see if it's at their level and also if it is interesting, if it's compelling to them. Both of those are very important when you're doing book tasting, which can really jumpstart students' interest in your library, because as you and I probably know, students don't really have the ability to browse anymore. Almost none of them have the experience of going to a library and browsing shelves. They're going to be lost. So we need to do something like book tasting to help get them hooked, or at least give a book a shot. Number three is how you display your books. In a traditional library, books are shown by the spine, which gives us maybe the cover and possibly the author's name, but that's about it. Our students are going to need to see more. The best setup for a library would be to be able to see every single book's cover. This gives them a quick impression about what it might be about just by the words and by the picture or the main image that's on the cover. This is very important when students don't have a connection already to certain authors or even to certain genres, like we said before, where students don't read as much as maybe they used to. So having displays where they can easily see the covers without having to pull them off the shelf one at a time is going to be key. A fourth way to engage your students with FVR books are book talks. Now, I don't mean student-led book talks. I mean teachers giving the book talks. And this doesn't have to be involved. Pretty much the only things you need to do are have read the book, or at least enough of it to be able to give them a little bit of intrigue, and give them some background. What's the genre about? Maybe read a short snippet, maybe a paragraph or two, or a chapter, and get them hooked. Find a juicy part of the book where students are going to be like, ooh, I want to pick that up next time we have FVR. Because students, again, don't have the connection like they used to with the reading, and so they don't know what's out there. You've got to help them find what's in those books before they even crack the cover. Number 5 is also an organizational tip. How are you going to organize your library? Are you going to organize by level, how difficult the books might be, or by genre? I'm not going to say either one is better than others. I will give you some pros and cons real quick, though. If you organize by level, students will definitely be able to find the books that they are able to read much quicker. Now, a con of that, of course, is everything is mixed together. They're going to only be able to go off of the cover to decide, like, oh, is this a great fantasy novel or nonfiction or humorous story or whatever you have in your library. Students will be directed towards their compatible linguistic level, but not necessarily what interests them. On the flip side, if you organize by genre, students right away are going to find books that they know that they're going to like the plot of, and they're going to find compelling. But they may have to do a little bit of digging to figure out if they can read it. Either way, they're going to have to do a little bit of work. So whichever you feel like is most appealing to your students, that's how I would organize your library. Should you go for what's compelling to them right away that's going to draw them in, and then they have to figure out, oh, am I able to read it at that level? Or make sure that they have a book that's readable to them and see which one is of interest. My sixth tip is read what's in your library. Now, if your library is getting pretty big, like mine is, I've got hundreds of books in my library now. Like I said in a previous video, I kind of have an addiction to trying to get all of the CI novels that are out there. So I've got quite a few. I've been blessed to have received grants and other funding for my library, but I have paid for quite a few of them out of my pocket as well. Now, with that said, I try to read as many of them as I can. I will read probably one a week or so during the students' FVR time. And while they're reading, I'm reading a book. And that way, every so often, I can use those books as my book talks. So I would suggest at the very least, while they're reading during FVR, you read during FVR. That way you know what's in your library. Because it can be a little dangerous not to know what kind of content you're putting out there in front of them. Because it might not be that it's risque, but you might be accidentally or unconsciously reinforcing stereotypes that you don't want to reinforce. Tip number 7 is appeal to their heart. You've got to get them excited about reading in any way you can. Interest them in the topics of the stories or genres. Find out what they're interested in, whether it's books or movies. That seems to be a bigger draw for my students now, is try to associate a certain genre of movie that they're interested in and tie that into the genres of books that you have. Also, bring up how much you love reading if you are a reader. You don't have to fake it, but a lot of teachers that teach language are also readers. So share with them the joy that you have from reading. Share with them how you like to read, like the environment, how you like to relax. Give them any reason to connect with that book on a more emotional level. Now, number 8 is not appealing to their heart, but appealing to their head. A lot of students will be able to be drawn in by the enjoyment factor if you can get them to enjoy the books, but some of them are going to need to hear the research. Whether you're quoting Stephen Krashen, Bill Van Patten, any famous reading expert, doesn't even have to be CI related. If you can convince them that reading is good for them, that they're going to be learning from that and give them some hard facts, that's going to get some of your students hooked as well. Whether you're quoting things like reading acquisition, the vocabulary acquisition is 10 times faster through reading than it is through direct vocabulary instruction, or whatever other quote that you can come up with. Share with them those things that are going to be logically connective. These last 5 tips are all going to be while you're in the process of FVR, so once you've gotten started. So tip number 9 is start with short durations. When a baby starts walking, they don't take off and start walking for 6 miles on that first time. It's 1 step, then maybe 1, 2, 3 steps. Then it's just 1 step again. Then it's fall down on their face 3 times in a row. So we need to start with those short durations of time. My suggestion is very few minutes, like 3, 4, 5 minutes on the first occasion. Don't overdo it. We want them begging for more, not begging to stop. Number 10, like I mentioned before, is to model reading. You want to model reading not just to find out what's in your library, but also to show them what real free volunteer reading looks like from an adult. Don't go through FVR time checking your emails, answering the door, texting your friends, grading papers, planning lessons, straightening up your room. Those things just show the students that FVR time is only important for them while you do other things. They see it as if you're taking a break from working and now they're just doing busy work. Do not let them think FVR is busy work, because it's not. We know it's effective. We want to show them it's effective, and sometimes modeling is the best way to prove that to them. Tip number 11 may be a hard pill for some of you to swallow, but for me, it's very important. No assignments. Do not give students assignments during FVR time. If they associate reading with work, they're going to associate reading with boring, reading with school, reading with I don't want to do it. So I hold students accountable only at the very most with some turn and talk with a partner after they get done reading. Just say, hey, share with your partner what you read today. What was going on in the plot? There's no comprehension questions, no quizzes, no book talks, no book reports. For me, that has worked the best. Your mileage might vary, but I have found as soon as you start associating work with the reading, it becomes the school game, and students hate the school game. We need to make reading equal pleasure, not work. Number 12, take the blame. If a student feels like a book that they've gotten isn't a good fit for them, you take the blame for it. You let them know, hey, sorry, I wasn't able to find a book that fits you very well. Maybe we didn't spend enough time doing book tasting. I haven't given you synopses of enough books. Hey, let me help you find another book. So take it upon yourself, because they already have a bad connotation with reading, that they don't want to do it. They don't want to put any effort into it. So if you shoulder a little bit of the blame, then you can help them, and they will trust you more. They'll see this as, oh, they're taking on some of this load for me, some of this responsibility, and they'll be more willing to help you find another book that's going to fit them. Our last tip, number 13, is make sure they have a chance to try those veggies. So we want to make FVR time sacred. Nothing else can happen during that time besides reading. Students aren't allowed to do makeup work. You don't let them sleep. They can't go to the bathroom or get a drink. Nothing can happen during FVR time besides reading, and that goes for you too. Don't answer the phone, don't answer the door, don't check your emails. Only do the things that the school would get you in trouble for, or they would get in trouble with the school for, if necessary. If you need to hang a sign outside your door saying, please do not disturb, we are busy reading. Or if you can take your phone off the hook, your school phone, and that's not an emergency safety issue, do it. Do not let FVR time get interrupted. Just don't do it. You need to make sure that they have that opportunity to delve into a book, because as you and I know, as soon as some noise is made or somebody comes in talking, everybody's concentration's broke, and it's going to take several minutes to get back into it, and you don't have those several minutes. All right, those are my 13 tips to FVR Exposed. Please comment or share any aha moments you had or any questions you've had. I would love to answer anything you might need to know more about. And of course, you can comment to let me know what you'd like to see in my next video. If you would like more videos like this, please please subscribe, and most importantly, share with your fellow world language teachers. See if there's anybody out there that you know that would like to know more about this topic or others that I have to talk about. And if you want to continue improving your FVR journey, take a look at the 5 things that I look for when choosing a new CI novel to buy by clicking on the link above. Thank you for your dedication to education and all you do for your students. Because as you and I know, world language teachers teach the world more than language. Hasta pronto.